Today, as you're watching this, we're going to go over a new type of fraction. It's called a complex fraction. Now, a complex fraction is simply a fraction that contains fractions. And I'll show you what that means in just a second. But to get us started, let's take a look at some background. We know 24 divided by 8 can be rewritten as 24 over 8, where 24 is the numerator and 8 is the denominator. Also, 24 is the dividend and 8 is the divisor. We know the answer is 3. But we also know that 24 over 8 is a fraction format, and actually we can call it the complex format because it's what a complex fraction would look like should we have fractions. So let's take a look and see what that means. If we have 3/4 divided by 2/5, we know that 3/4 is the numerator and 2/5 is the denominator of our complex fraction. So it would look something like this. And the writing in blue here, 3/4 over 2/5, with that big bar between them, that is a complex fraction, a fraction with fractions inside of it. It's handled just like any other division problem, just like 24 over 8 above it. But we need to know that the blue and the orange are considered equivalent expressions. So they're handled the same way. So let's move forward. If I have 3/4 over 2/5, how do I do this? Well, I'm going to rewrite it first as a regular division problem. So it'll look something like this. Once it's written as a regular division problem, then I can handle it like a regular division or fraction problem. So instead of leaving it as a complex fraction, I can retool it to be something that I recognize. You always want to work with what you know. We know how to divide fractions in this standard or green format, as you see. So we would then change it to multiplication and divide by the multiply by the reciprocal. So 3/4 divided by 2/5 is the same thing as 3/4 times 5 over 2. And then we know that answer would be 15 over 8. And we would reduce that if possible. Remember, your answers can be improper. A mixed number does not mean more simplified. Alright, so let's go maybe a little bit more difficult. So if I have grouping symbols, these parentheses around the numerator and the denominator, or around the dividend and divisor, then you got to think about order of operations. What do you do first? Well, let's take a look. So 3 plus 5 is my numerator, -6 plus 4 is my denominator, making a new complex looking fraction, except it's not a complex fraction because there aren't any fractions in it. Remember, the definition of complex fraction is that it's a fraction with a fraction in it, or at least one fraction in it. So if I have this value, this expression, I know that it's really just 8 over -2, which is -4. So now, let's turn that into what a complex fraction would look like with grouping. So here we go. We've got 3 over 7 plus 2 over 3, all divided by, or all over, 7 over 8 minus 2 over 6. So this is a grouped complex fraction, or a complex fraction with grouping. The numerator and the denominator must be simplified first before you do the big bar. The bar in the middle is the division problem. So it'll look something like this. 3 over 7 plus 2 over 3 divided by 7 over 8 minus 2 over 6. And because they were in the complex fraction on the numerator, we're going to do 3/7 plus 2/3 first. And because they were in the denominator all together, we're going to do 7/8 minus 2/6 first before we do the final division. So it will look something like this. We've got ourselves our common denominator on the left, common denominator on the right. We simplify the left and the right, and then we do the division. And I canceled where possible. Remember, a top for a bottom, 1 to 1. And I had a leftover of 7 and 8 that I multiplied into the rest of the fraction, which got me 184 over 91. And that is how we're going to handle all of our complex fractions. You can retool it or rebuild it as a typical division problem. Just make sure you realize that you have to do the entire numerator and the entire denominator first and get a simplified fraction up top and a simplified fraction on bottom before you do your final division. And that is how we do complex fractions. You'll do more of it tomorrow in class, so be ready and we will practice more. Good luck.